Hello and good evening, my beauties and bees, and welcome to Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and I am so happy to see everybody popping in here on Live from the Hive. If you want to be part of this show when we do this live, be sure to tune in tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time for Live from the Hive. We do it every Saturday. So thank you for popping in to hang out with Cryptic Corner tonight. And I want to just jump right into the topic because this has been another one that's been on the back burner for a long time because you don't know how to approach it. It's very comparable to like the Jersey Shore shark attacks. There is some cryptic elements to it, but it's not truly a cryptid, but there's mystery behind what we're talking about today. And you'll understand what I mean in just a minute. So let's pop right into the video. I'm going someplace kind of nifty today. This is from 4 months ago from a guy named Stingray Tom's Florida. He tells lore and folklore about Florida and also lays out some information about some of the animals there on occasion. And today is no different. He's talking about Florida alligators, but not Florida alligators in Florida this time, but Florida alligators in New York City. When I'm not just going to focus on Florida alligators from Florida in New York City, just alligators out of their proper homes are sort of a common theme, and it still happens today. There's a lake in Illinois where someone caught an alligator. People release them into these ponds and stuff, but we're going to get into that too. But I'm going to let Florida Tom kind of break down the folklore behind it because I like the way he talks about it. Now he does an intro. The whole video is he does like his channel. You know, he says his thing, but he
talk about Florida's gators and
he has a long intro thing where he does his channel stuff. So I'm going to pop ahead just a couple minutes into it, and we're going to get right into. Shouldn't let that play so long, but there we go. We'll go back to here.
Related ones such as the Bermuda Triangle and the skunk ape. Still, I want to talk about Florida's gators in New York City, since they've been found there many times over the past 100 years. Are there gators living in the sewers of New York? Are they able to survive, and are they breeding? Let's take a look at the available evidence.
All right, so he's getting ready to drop some lore on us, but I did want to answer some quick questions from the side chat. I see somebody saying, "Oh Lord, sewer gators." Sewer gators I love them. I love sewer gators. I have a thumbnail ready for this one too. That looks so cool. I've been making all kinds of thumbnails by using cartoonized versions of my face over AI artwork. It looks really good. It looks like I think it's professional paintings and stuff of me. But anyway, I saw someone ask if I was ever going to do sheep squatch. You bet your ass I'm going to do sheep squatch. It's gonna be maybe soon too. I don't know. There's a few of these weird country road hominid creatures that are a little bit bizarre. There's the goat man, who's like a Sasquatch with goat horns, and there's another goat man. It doesn't have horns. It looks like a goat. And then there's ones with axes that jump on the hood of your car. All kinds of stuff. So a lot of variety, but we'll get into that one of these days. There's a lot to cover. That's why Cryptic Corner is going to last forever. And as long as you guys keep coming back for it, I'm going to keep doing this show. This is my favorite show to do. This is my favorite segment. That's why it's first. There is going to be some reshuffling though around the shows, but we'll talk about that more towards the end because, I got some exciting news and some fun stuff to think about too. All right, let's get back to New York sewer gators and see if they can't. Yes, the Ninja Turtles are in the sewers in New York. Yeah, but turtles have the ability to survive at that latitude, right? They can enter that torpor state like we were talking about with the monkeys. You can sometimes, like when you walk out on the ice on a lake, you can see turtles under the water. At least you can't here in Illinois when it freezes over. You can go see the turtles under the water. You see frogs too. Gators can't quite survive like that, but they can stick their noses up. But we'll get into that in just a bit.
Alligators remain a big draw for tourists in Florida. Beyond the alligator farms, every zoo and aquarium displays alligators. Many miniature golf places have gators you can feed and maybe even hold. There are airboat and pontoon boat tours where you're guaranteed to see gators, as well as boardwalks in many parks that provide a glimpse of the alligator's Cretaceous world. Alligators' crocodilian cousins have actually been...
I got a question. They used to Cretaceous there, so I guess alligators as a no. You know what? I'm okay with it. Gator, yeah, Gatorodia, definitely. You know what? You're good there, Florida Tom. Cretaceous is a good time. It's the heyday of alligators in Cayman. Yeah, when they were the biggest and most powerful, and they lived all across from North America. And it was lower down on the map, so it was more closer towards the equator, like Beringia, where Alaska and Russia meets, was like way down, more close to like a climate like Northern California, right? And gators lived from Florida to China, and then that split up, and then Chinese alligators got isolated from American alligators. And those are the two clades of alligators, right, that are currently still in existence: the Chinese alligator and the American alligator. And they live on like opposite corners of the earth, which seems really weird, but it's not if you think about this giant continent with Beringia linking northern Asia and North America. And then you have the Indian subcontinent. It's a totally different story. And that's where you get into this north and south thing. So you get this northern continent, which makes up Europe, Asia. Europe was already too cold for alligators this time because of the way that it was orientated. It was kind of like pointed up into the North Pole a little bit, with China being more down and Beringia being more pointed downward. Sorry, I'm interrupting this with a geography lesson. I wish I don't have the maps pulled up. I will pull up maps over here when I publish this. No worries. But alligators lived all along this area. Then when the continent shifted and separated them, they became two isolated pockets. And while in North America, in South America, because the Caymans lived down there, they did prosper quite a bit, right? They prosper up until modern times, up until the Anthropocene. But in Asia, they didn't flourish quite as well. They just Chinese alligators, and that may be because, when India and the Oceania got a little bit closer to in Africa, got a little bit closer to that Asian continent, it brought with it these their own crocodilians, the crocodiles. And alligators have a hard time competing with crocodiles in tropical climates because alligators are evolved to live in cooler, more seasonal climates, not necessarily winter and spring and summer and fall, but they have more of like a two-season kind of. I want to call it like the circadian rhythm, but it's not really. It's because it's seasonal, but they go into a sleepy state, and so that's their strong point that crocodiles don't have. So that's why they can be found in more northern climates. Crocodiles cannot. All right, enough rambling.
Been around that long, emerging 95 million years ago. They lived alongside tyrannosaurs, hadrosaurs, pterosaurs, early birds, mosasaurs, and even sharks.
You say even sharks. Sharks have been around since did you know sharks are older than the North Star? Not just older than than Polaris has been, the star that's north, but longer than Polaris has existed. Sharks came into existence, evolved, before Polaris evolved. Just keep that in mind. That's wild to me. Wild to think about. Sharks are ancient. So ancient.
Alligators emerged around 37 million years ago, and today the American alligator has the largest population of any apex predator in the world. Today there's 25,000.
Go Gators. Yeah, like Sumami was saying earlier, they were endangered for decades because of overhunting.
1,000 polar bears, 35,000 lions, 100,000 mako sharks, and 250,000 wolves in the world. But there's 3 million gators, with 1.3 million just in Florida. So we know that gators are both remarkably successful and
look at those mobile nostrils. I just want to take that in. Look, people talk about how reptiles didn't have the proper facial muscles and stuff to do certain things because they can't, they don't have mobile lips. But their nostrils are freaking amazing. Look at that. There's a little patch right here with this softer skin. It's flexible and seals those suckers right up.
have changed little in millions of years. Gators aren't just a popular attraction in the state today. Tourists have been spotting them since the 1820s. Travelers in the newly acquired territory would visit St. Augustine and take trips along the St. Johns. After the Civil War, tourism grew, and that's when the first alligator farms developed. The oldest one in operation is the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, which opened in 1893. Apart from functioning as zoos, gator farms, including the...
Hold on, I gotta appreciate old Riley over here for a minute. Not as bad as he looks. Pelican. Just appreciating that, and then moving on.
long-gone Florida Alligator Farm in Jacksonville, as well as Gatorland.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Poor creature pulling a wagon with little kids on it. I'm not here for that. I just don't think this gator needs to be in that contraption. If he was like missing his back legs or something, maybe give him a little cart, but not to pull people's kids around on.
Located between Orlando and Kissimmee, also raise gators to sell for their skins, meat, and crucially for today's subject, for pets. There's limited evidence as to how widespread the trade in hatchling gators was in Florida or how many were sold, but we also don't know how many cases of oranges were sold and how many postcards were sent either. Gators were sold by farms, attractions, and roadside stands which hawked all manner of Sunshine State kitsch. For many years, there was a steady stream of gators moving north along the rapidly developing...
And you have to understand how, when you see an adult gator, it's normal people like you, not me, but normal people like you guys out there can say, that's kind of creepy looking. It's got big spiked teeth and it's all scaly with bony spikes sticking out and stuff, and they go, it's off-putting. To me, they're adorable, but to almost everybody, a baby alligator is adorable. I think they have some videos of them here, and they're tiny. They're about the size of like your average gecko pet. Gecko that people keep as pets.
Helping paved roads, such as US 1 and the Dixie Highway. You can learn more about the latter in this video. By the 1930s, gators weren't only heading north in the back seats of Model Ts, they were being mailed northward because of magazine ads.
Let's read this one. How would you like a real live baby alligator for your very own? A rage for baby alligator pets has swept the country. We have arranged at great expense to supply you with a genuine, alive baby alligator just hatched to keep the deep marshlands of the South at an amazingly low price. These corking little pets will be shipped to you by mail, carefully packed, safe arrival guaranteed. Think of the fun, the thrill you will have with one of these baby alligators. I keep emphasizing babies, like, oh, they're babies. They'll never be adults. They're just babies. Baby alligators. Read how they how fascinating they are, how interesting. Study nature. Remember, the alligator comes down to us from prehistoric days, from the age of the dinosaurs. Do you want a baby alligator? You bet you do. What boy wouldn't? Price $1.50 postpaid. What boy? I'm a girl and I want an alligator. Stop it. Stop it with your 1960s sexism.
Later, kids could even win them for selling newspaper or magazine subscriptions.
I don't know if people are normies out there or not. I just assume most people are normies and don't love all creatures the way I do. I just assume. Yeah, you got people getting baby alligators in the mail and comic strips, and look at that. Jay Leno used to tell a story on his stand-up thing, or on his talk show, the Tonight Show, about getting a monkey from one of these mail order catalogs, like a marmoset. It's really sad. He said that it arrived, it was like hairless and tiny and screamed.
In this ad, the highlighted parts state false information about the growth of gators. They state that it takes nearly 200 years to reach full size. That's simply not true.
No, completely false.
First of all, gators can live into their 50s, with only a few thought to have lived to 70. While adult gators continue to grow long after they reach maturity, the speed of growth is greatly diminished. It's even been shown that they stop growing at 43 for males and 31 for females. It's not correct that they...
like the infinite growth theory about a lot of reptiles is starting to get debunked. There's a certain point where they've reached their maximum potential size for their body, and they just stop growing. That's just the truth of it. Snakes are the same way. They have a max.
Grow only a few inches in the first years. Gators can grow up to 8 inches or 20 centimeters a year.
I know. When I heard that about the mail order marmoset, I was like, oh, because he talks about his mom shoot it outside and never saw it again. So it died because it didn't survive in the wild here in North America. I don't know where Jay Leno's from, like New Jersey or something. It wouldn't have survived there.
And reach 4 foot or 1.2 meters by the time they're 5 or 6. By the age of 12, males have reached maturity and can be 9 foot or 2.5 meters long. The idea that gators are slow growing encouraged sales. If parents thought that in a few years, Junior's tiny hatchling would be even too big to fit in the tub, Junior might have had to settle for a book on pirates. It's this that would lead to the legend of subterranean alligators. No gators from Florida, no sewer gators. Considering that in 2023, people still dump unwanted pets at shelters or release them into the wild.
How could you dump that little guy? Oh. Well, you shouldn't have got him in the first place if you weren't prepared to take care of a adorable, happy alligator who just wants to live his best life and lay in the mud and prosper and eat things, eat turtles and stuff. That's all he wants. He's not evil. He doesn't deserve to be thrown into a sewer or a lake that's gonna freaking freeze over for 9 months out of the year. He doesn't deserve that. Look at that cute guy. All he wants to do is be in his lane, basking on a muddy bank, prospering. That's what he wants. So if you can't provide that to him, then don't own him. Everybody and anybody thinking about getting alligators or getting any kind of crocodilian, unless you are prepared to provide them with the space that they need.
Surprising that the Florida transplant gators would end up kicked out of the home. Ask anyone and they'll tell you that most were flushed down the toilet. Of course, that's an impossibility since anything other than the tiniest of hatchlings wouldn't fit.
Yeah, they'd have to be like fresh out of the egg. You'd have to like take them out of the egg and then flush them. They're about that long. About as long as a pencil. Thicker than a pencil though. Yeah, but not big. And pretty soon they grow pretty quick. Through those first few months, they can triple in size. I mean, usually like a year old alligator is probably about that long, probably about 1.5 feet long. and already capable of like taking down its own live prey, such as rodents. Even at that size, they potentially can eat chicks and small rabbits, things like that. And I've known people who've had alligators as pets that were not in the. I won't call anybody out for their behavior because I think they got busted and got fined and everything. But I've seen people with alligators in their basements, and they just roam the basement and have a little kiddie pool. So, which is not. They need more than that. They need mud. Alligators love mud and stuff like this. Like what you see this alligator on right here. The mud and the grass and the logs and the stump rotting stuff. They love it. They absolutely love it. They want to be where the decay is happening because it provides them heat even when the ambient temperature is low. Decaying matter can provide them with heat and they are evolved to take advantage of that, right? They lay their eggs, for instance, in big rotting piles of vegetation. It's all part of their ecology. They evolved to live in these. Again, how we talked about how crocodiles live south in the south portion, and then alligators can live all the way up to the Arctic conditions, because they take advantage of this ecological niche in bogs, marshes, in lowland areas of river valleys where there is a lot of wet, decaying plant material that produces heat and adds extra heat even during the cold months of the year. It provides that heat from the decay to keep them warm, and it helps them produce their offspring.
Instead, they were tossed in the trash, the river, or down storm drains. A critical event was recorded in the New York Times in February 1935. 3 East Harlem teens spied an alligator down a storm drain. They were able to lasso the poor beast and pull it out with clothesline. The young men killed the gator with...
Yeah, they say 8 foot here, but yeah, it's this was in winter too, because they were shoveling snow into the storm drain.
Their snow shovels. It was reported to be 8 foot long, 2.5 meters, but looking at the photo, it doesn't appear to be anywhere near that big. The article speculated
it probably couldn't move very well in that cold water, or in that if they were shoveling snow. Prize weight of 125 pounds, and no one seems to know how it got in the sewer. Yeah, I would say that this one was probably a dumped pet. This is about the size that people decide they can't deal with an alligator anymore. They get about, this is an 8 foot, but that's a 4.5, 5 foot alligator. Looks like it might have some snout damage though, so it could have been longer. I don't know if they damaged its snout with the snow shovels, but its face it's the length of its head doesn't seem to be proportionate to the body here. Just an observation. I guess I got it kind of behind the. Hold on, let me fix that. Pull it out here so you guys can see him a little better. There you go. There's our little gator. There's our gator guy.
that it had escaped from a passing steamer in the Harlem River and had swum into a sewer outflow pipe. The event became the talk of the town in the midst of the Great Depression. 2 years later, Ira Fisk, a barge captain, pulled a 4.5 foot or 1.5 meter gator from the East River by yet again lassoing the animal. Only a week later,
Where are all these gator lassoing people these days? You don't hear about anybody in New York lassoing alligators anymore. New Yorkers used to be a different breed, right? Now they don't even lasso alligators. I mean, what's become of the city? Alligators just roaming in the East River and the Hudson, and nobody even cares. Nobody lassos them like they're supposed to. In the 30s, though. In the 30s, that's when you lassoed a gator.
foot or 2/3 meter long gator was spotted crawling along a Brooklyn subway platform, shocking passengers after crawling out of a trash
That one's
can
tiny.
where it had been
That's definitely a dumped pet.
dumped. The police grabbed the young gator and removed it, since it didn't have a subway token.
These verifiable reports were dramatic, but didn't mention gators living in the city sewers. Indeed, the sewer connection appears to have been first advanced by Teddy May, a sewer foreman who reported
It's time for Teddy May. He's the MVP of this story. This guy is basically the source of gators in the sewers hysteria in New York, where like it enters the public mind. Sure, there was the capture of the gators in 35 and 37, but those just go on to fill in the background lore for Teddy May's story.
Spotting the animals in the 1930s. May was a colorful figure who is still famous among sewer workers in New York. He was well known in his day as a raconteur and a spinner of yarn.
Famous among sewer workers in New York. That's the living legend right there. Maybe if I go to New York, I'll get famous among sewer workers for something too. That'd be wild. It'd be the Mario Brothers.
So it's not surprising that he'd be a central figure in the story of sewer gators. But while his experiences date from the 30s,
do we have vampires versus a gator army out here in the side chat? I want to know how that turns out. Oh yeah, let me just pull out my gator lasso for my gator wrangling fanny pack. Yeah, well, gator wranglers are a dying breed, as Purple points out. The tail is bent, just laying on the floor, so it is at least as tall as the guys are. Yeah, somewhere. Well, those were kids though. They weren't guys. They were children. Let's see here. Just getting caught up on the side chat. Yeah, everybody's about the gator wrangling though. I'm glad I'm not the only one who's into that. It's like, if you're gonna live in New York and you don't know how to wrangle an alligator, what are you even doing?
It was 1959 when they were published in a book titled The World Beneath the City, written by Robert Daly. According to the book, May spoke about a colony of gators who were comfortably living underground. He refused to believe reports from his inspectors that they were being menaced by gators. I says to myself, he recalled in the book, them guys been drinking in there. May was sure that the stories were false, and he refused to approve any reports mentioning gators. He also sent men to watch the inspectors to see how they were getting alcohol on the job. When no booze appeared, he decided...
It's kind of weird to see how they getting alcohol on the job. They're going down into the sewers. They got like their toolbox or whatever. You take your bottle, you put it in your toolbox, you close your toolbox up, and you take it down to the sewer. Easy peasy.
Decided to take a look at the claims himself. I'll go down there and prove to you guys that there ain't no alligators in my sewers, May said. However, when he personally looked into it, he changed his mind. He said that he saw gators that were mostly 2 foot long. They were found in the smaller pipes that emptied into the trunk lines below major streets. Mays reportedly started a program to get rid of them. Many were killed by rat poison, others were shooed into pipes where quick flowing water carried them out to the rivers, while some were shot.
Yeah.
The New York Times printed...
Super sad. But sounds like maybe somebody dumped a little farm they had of alligators just all at once. Maybe because they sound like they were all pretty close to the same size and maybe the same age. At the right size and age to be living off of rodents though. So they were doing all right until the sewer workers came in to eradicate them. Did some of them escape and make it into a different part of the sewer system where they could hide out? Maybe. But they flushed most of them and poisoned them and shot them. All for just being little cute baby gators that someone dumped. I imagine, again, it's my opinion, I don't think these are individual dumpings in this case. I think it's probably got to be, maybe a pet store owner that had overstock. It was like, what am I going to do with all these gators? I can't afford to keep feeding them, and just dumps them into into the sewer, into a manhole and dumps them in, or dumps them into just sewer grid on the side of the road. It's not like a storm drain or something, and they work their ways down through the pipes. Yeah, lot of ways for this to have played out, but I don't think that they were all dumped individually.
Teddy May's obituary in 1960. In it, he was credited with having led a squad in clearing the sewers of gators that had survived and grown quite large. There's no way to know just how embellished his story was, but it's a good bet that it helped establish the notion of sewer gators.
Would you like some contemporary reports? Brooklyn, 2001. A UPS driver found that a large package was leaking. When workers opened it, they found a 5-foot gator thrashing around, its mouth and legs tied with duct tape. Queens, 2003.
So
a 3-foot gator was found by a dog.
That's pretty obvious that somebody was trying to illegally ship an alligator, right? I mean, there's no dispute on where that came from, or it was like never loose in New York either. It doesn't sound like it was always contained. So I don't know if that one counts for our sewer gators title. Right?
Dog walker in Alley Pond Park and was promptly named Alligator by park officials. Astoria, 2010. A 2-foot crocodile was rescued from under a car.
It was like an American
Manhattan,
crocodile.
2015.
Now it wouldn't have. That had to be an escaped pet too, because the crocodile wouldn't even be able to overwinter. I think a mild winter, an alligator in the right conditions could probably overwinter in New York. It's not that much different from I mean, depending on the climate. I guess back then it was probably colder too. But crocodiles, no way ever.
A 3-foot gator tried crossing the street during evening rush hour. And in 2019...
Yeah, how are you going to send a 5-foot alligator through the mail, Purple? I don't know. That's wild. It would be in a box of all things. Not a crate. A box.
3 gators were recovered by officials. They were given names. On Staten Island, Poland, a 5-year-old gator was brought to animal care after being found abandoned in a park. And Wally was discovered by a Parks Department worker. Meanwhile, in Brooklyn...
I love him. He's so cute. Look at his ducky little face and his little... his cute little beady eyes. There's like kawaii eyes. Like, give me food. Look at him. He's so cute.
Was recovered by police during a residential search warrant.
Oh.
So, no question there's gators in New York City. Whether or not they could survive, let alone thrive in the sewer system, it'd be natural for them to escape to the relative safety of the underground world.
And there are crocodilians and alligators that do live in caves. They can thrive in cave systems under the right conditions. This little guy's under the ice, so if you see this, like if you're somewhere, usually in the American South, and it's winter and you see this sticking out of the ice, don't try to rescue him. He's cool. Leave him alone.
So let's look at the conditions in the New York sewers and compare them to the attributes of Florida's
here we
gators. Go. It can't be easy to live in a sewer. Are gators tough enough? I've mentioned just how successful and resilient gators are, but let's look at that a bit more. Over the years, I've run across ones who display evidence of some sort of unfortunate violence. I want to show you a few to give you an idea of their remarkable constitution.
All right, wait. Trigger warning, because we are going to see some alligator injuries here. You've probably seen it before, because a lot of the ones that are kept, alligators and crocodiles that are kept in zoos, have injuries. So it's not like an uncommon sight, but I do want to just give a trigger warning for anybody who loves little critters. You're going to see some alligator injuries.
It's a gator with a damaged but healed jaw, seen on the St. Johns River. It appeared to be healthy. The damage could have been caused by a boat or another gator. Those are about the only dangers adults have. The second has an amputated forearm. It's at a gator farm, so I don't know if it was injured in the wild or while here, but another gator likely did it. While gators can live in close proximity to each other, they are territorial and only tolerate each other to a point. Near Gainesville,
There was the one of the alligators at the St. Louis Zoo had a missing eye. Allegedly, as Laura says, back in the 70s, somebody threw a penny in there and knocked its eye out. Pretty awful.
was number 3. It also has a missing arm, fully healed and causing few problems. Both of these amputations appear to have happened at the elbow. Imagine how you'd deal with losing your arm in a swamp. This 4th subject is sunning itself near Lakeland after getting out of the water. This time the forearm amputation looks quite recent as it's not healed, but the gator doesn't appear to be in any distress. Clearly things like this aren't a big deal.
At least it's starting to heal.
This next one is more dramatic, I'm afraid.
Eek.
It took me a bit of time to notice that it's missing a toe. Luckily, I got close enough to take a good look, and this was a very recent injury.
It's missing its
I realize
arm,
it's
too.
difficult to tell if a gator is comfortable or not, but it got a toe chomped off. By the way, until I looked at the photos, I hadn't realized that I got the toe as well. That's pretty good evidence on how
there
recent
it
the
is.
injury was.
Eek.
Now this gator is missing part of its eyelid. It appears that the eye is
You know,
fine, which makes sense
looking,
because
hold on.
now this
So-
gator is missing.
This digit right here with no claw, I'm wondering if that isn't one that healed back over too from like the tip being nipped off because there's no claw on it anymore. Just spitballing.
missing part of its eyelid. It appears that the eye is fine, which makes sense because their eyes can get pushed into their head when the lids close. Number 7 is in a farm, and I don't fully understand the photo. It appears to have 2 of its teeth protruding through its skin inside the bottom jaw. If that's wrong, I can't explain.
Well, it looks like its bottom jaw is half missing. Like this is sticking way past that. I don't know though because the angle of the picture for sure what's going on here.
It. This final gator has a large gash on its lower jaw. It's been pierced through its scales and looks like it goes all the way into the mouth. These injuries are significant, but all the gators survived, most without any medical care whatsoever.
All the way through, and it's going to heal over.
This is a recent video.
I'm sure it does
recorded in
bother the
city of-
gator, though. I think that's probably an exaggeration to say it didn't bother the gator. That would make it difficult to submerge. It would make it difficult to eat. So no, I don't think it's not bothered by it at all. I think it probably still causes some struggle, but hopefully it heals over and the gator manages to flourish. But yeah, injured alligators, we should probably take it seriously. All right, who's ready to head into the sewers, guys?
Oviedo, east of Orlando. It shows a 6-foot gator during a robotic inspection of a storm pipe. Recent studies show that the gator has a remarkable immune system. Unlike humans, they can fight fungi, viruses, and bacteria without having prior exposure to them.
That's what you're talking about there, about the healing, not getting infected purple. Yeah, caves do too, and it says y'all are talking about how warm the sewers are, tsunami and purple. Yeah, they really are a whole other level of an ecosystem down below. In like cave systems, they have consistent temperatures that if warm water passes through them, they stay warm for a long time.
Their blood is remarkably resistant to bacterial infection. It's thought that this is an evolutionary adaptation to promote quick wound healing, as gators are often injured during battles. A 2008 study found the blood serum taken from gators killed 23 strains of bacteria, including MRSA. Gators can also survive high levels
You're
of
making
radiation,
him mad.
live in unsanitary environments, eat rotten meat, and be exposed to dangerous amounts of heavy metals. They survived the catastrophic Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event that caused the extinction of all non-avian dinosaurs and most other animals weighing more than 50 pounds or 22 kilograms. Crocodilians and sea turtles were some of the few survivors. Another remarkable gator characteristic is that they rarely develop cancer. How gators can live cancer-free up to 70 years while living in polluted habitats is not understood. So gators have a robust constitution which is able to survive most situations. But just how
This
bad are
alligator's
these sewers?
adorable. Look at him do his
The
little
New
high
York
walk.
Department of Environmental Protection manages the city's sewer system. 60% of its
Now this is in Orlando, so it's in Florida where you do expect to see alligators.
sewers mix wastewater with stormwater, all of which gets treated. However, 40% is in a different system that keeps wastewater and stormwater separate from each other. This wastewater also gets treated, but the stormwater is flushed into the rivers. This means that of 7,400 miles or 12,000 kilometers of sewer pipe, some 1,500 miles or 2,400 kilometers only handles stormwater. Sure, it's not clean since it collects oil, trash, fertilizers, etc. But
But so does every other body of water. At this point, it's all polluted by humans. There's no waterways that don't have our oily, trashy, gunky, plastic-filled waste in it anymore.
consider the alternative. Since
You know what?
gators have been
Not even your own bloodstream. Your bloodstream has microplastics in it. Probably this alligator's bloodstream does too.
tossed in the stormwater drains for decades, at least some of them would have entered the cleaner system and might have stood a better chance of survival. One question has to be, how can gators survive New York's brutal winters? Gators aren't
There we go.
native to New York because they can't handle extremely cold temperatures. However, gators range as
But could handle temperatures colder than any other crocodilian.
far north as the Carolinas, and while they're not fond of the cold, they can survive it. It's been shown that when the temperature drops below freezing and the lakes crust over with ice, gators will poke their snouts above the surface to survive the weather. When it comes to the New York sewers, remember it's a basic requirement that they don't freeze. The city buried its sewer pipes below the frost line, like everywhere else.
Boop! Gotta boop him. Yes, so yeah, that's what we were talking about just a moment ago. Below the frost line and then flowing with warm water from humans with water heaters.
The pipes are protected so that the water will always flow. Therefore, gators could potentially survive. But what about food? Would sewers provide enough food for gators? We know that rats
Like under a laundromat or like a gym or someplace with a lot of hot flowing water would probably be ideal.
thrive in sewers, and New York City has an estimated 2 million of them, though not all of them live in the sewers. Still, everyone would agree that rats are a plentiful food source. Raccoons and opossums are also common visitors to the city's sewers. Gators have a diet dominated by fish, but they're well known to have a highly opportunistic attitude towards what they eat. They're ambush predators with remarkably quick reflexes. While they
They'd have to be like it'd be almost 100% rodents would be their diet, and maybe some, like I said, occasionally possums or raccoons, trash that people discard perhaps, but just for the most part, if they're living in the sewer, that they have access to.
most often lie in wait for fish underwater. They'll also rest motionless near the shore to grab birds such as herons and egrets, or small mammals such as marsh rabbits, raccoons, opossums, cats, and dogs.
Man, they follow this guy the whole way, don't
The
they?
largest gators will catch and eat deer, pigs, bobcats, panthers, and black bears, even though these animals are not a significant part of their diet. Male gators have been seen eating parts of dead rival males. And then recently, their appetite has also been shown to include fruit.
That's a big old gator.
Such behavior has been witnessed, as well as documented from stomach contents.
So this is the thing, even obligate predators can consume some plant matter in order to acquire certain nutrients that their bodies demand. Yeah, there'd be pizza down there, Steph. You think so? What if the turtles eat it all? Yeah, this is munching on a melon, but I've seen snakes even consuming some fruit, because one snake or one alligator eating one piece of fruit and pulling those vitamins into its body gives those vitamins for like the next few generations. So even if no other alligator for the next 2 or 3 generations eats any fruit, it'll still have those nutrients that was absorbed by this one ancestor if she's laying eggs. Isn't that kind of neat? It's like it's the same like with like how a deer or a cow will eat a baby bird. And not every generation does that, but just randomly the one will just do it, and it gives them that calcium for to pass and all the nutrients that they need from the meat to help nourish their offspring. Now, toucans are an animal that most people think of as fruit eating, right? That's their main diet, is they eat fruit. They have their big old toucan bill that they eat fruit with, and all that they're obligate frugivores. But when they get into their breeding season, they will gang up and kill other birds, including large parrots, so that they can eat them to use their calcium to make stronger eggshells. Isn't that wild? Yeah.
With them eating wild grapes, elderberries, and citrus directly from trees. Gators are just cold-blooded reptiles. Are they intelligent enough to survive in such a hostile environment? First of all, reptile intelligence has long been considered inferior to that of birds.
What's your problem? What's this guy right here's problem? Everybody else is like chill and just like, hey, we got an alligator, and he's like glaring at us like, what are you looking at?
But recent studies show that they have a profound understanding of their surroundings. Looking at this graphic, you can see that a gator's brain mass is much smaller than other intelligent animals, both in absolute terms and as a percentage of body mass. It's clear, though, that when it comes to brains, size doesn't really matter. Gators have adapted to a changing environment over millions of years, and they've done it without changing themselves all that much. We might look at humans for an analog. Like gators, humans have adapted to various environments.
I hear that tsunami. Biting into an apple. Ouch. You slice it up first.
They've done so using their intelligence. Plus, both are long-lived and develop intellectually as they age. For gators, there's a number of remarkable behaviors that prove this. They've been observed to collaboratively hunt in groups. By coordinating actions and taking on different roles, their efforts can result in a larger amount of food than if hunting individually.
It's more of a mobbing tactic, like what Komodo dragons do, than tactical group pack hunting.
Gators use tools to help them hunt. For example, they're known to float motionless with a collection of sticks on their snouts. When birds like egrets and wood storks come to collect the potential nesting material, the gators grab them. They've also learned how to climb up and over chain link fences to get to the other side. Those fences are tools. Gators are some of the most active reptile mothers. A mother builds a nest that stays dry and generates heat through the national composting process. She'll guard the nest for 2 months until the offspring chirp while they're in the eggs. That's the signal that they're ready to hatch, so she'll chirp back. Mothers will then uncover the eggs and help the ones that are having difficulty hatching. Once hatched, she'll carry the babies in her mouth to the water. She'll stay near the nesting sites in order to protect them from hungry raccoons,
they're so adorable.
waterfowl,
I love the little
and
yellow
other
stripes.
gators. It's common for mom to act as a guard for 2 years. In addition, gators have developed a repertoire of sophisticated calls. The chirping is just...
I think it's till they visually lose those yellow spots, she'll still stand. She'll not attack them, and she'll stand up for them. I imagine the spots have. I just speculate that the spots have some sort of visual signaling to the mother that this is something. This is one of your infants that you're supposed to protect.
1. Gators growl, shriek, roar, and hiss to communicate, and even produce
I have never heard a gator shriek. I'm here for it though. Let's hear what it sounds like.
Sound waves with a frequency below the limits of human hearing. When produced underwater, the resulting vibrations can be heard and felt over long distances. It's called bellowing.
Shimmering.
And it's one of the more remarkable
Watch
sights
its back.
and
It's called
sounds
shimmering
in
here.
nature. Check it out.
He's trying to attract a lady. It's like, look at this fountain I can make with my back.
Finally, gators understand patterns and use them to their advantage. It's particularly evident in training sessions such as these. Gators learn what to expect from a trainer and what to do to get a reward. While training involves food, gators, like dogs and dolphins, are willing to perform the behaviors when asked, even without a food reward. Understanding patterns helps in hunting as well as responding to a changing environment. There's just one other item I want to cover. That's the idea that sewer gators might have evolved by losing their skin pigment as a reaction to being in the dark. First of all, I haven't seen a report that a white gator was ever seen in New York, so this is likely fantasy, but such gators do exist in nature. They're exceedingly rare, but happily there are several in alligator farms.
They're popular in the pet trade too, back when they had these problems. The albino alligators were more expensive. I guess it's less probable that they get flushed though.
There's two primary conditions that cover white gators. Leucism is a partial loss of pigmentation, while albinism is a complete lack of pigmentation. There's any number of conditions that make white gators, but they're born leucistic or albino. It's highly unlikely that living in near absolute darkness would turn gators white.
Are you talking about tuataras, Tsunami? From New Zealand, they're like lizards, but they're not actually not actually squamates. I think they're not actually squamates, but they're lepidosaurs.
Likely, though highly improbable possibility, is that a couple
sphinxodonts
white gators produced white offspring, which continued the trait in future generations.
To recap, the New York City sewer is a horrible place to live unless you're a rat. Rats do fine there, so gators might as well. Gators are resourceful, intelligent, opportunistic, tenacious, and like many reptiles, single-minded when it comes to survival. They modify their environment, including digging wallows, deep water holes that are dry season refuges, not only for themselves, but for fish, birds, and mammals. I'd suggest that if any large animal could survive in the sewers, it'd be Florida's gators. The biggest issue might be reproduction. While there's a possibility that escaped or abandoned gators could survive, whether they'd have offspring is another question. Mother gators build large mounds of vegetation in which they place their eggs, but that'd be nearly impossible in the sewers due to lack of plant material and the threat of quickly flowing water. Still, I think that the best evidence is that there's simply no credible first-hand reports of a population of sewer gators in the past 60 years. Thank you once again for watching another of my videos.
She'd have to crawl out of the sewers and like lay her eggs along the riverbanks or something. She wouldn't be able to just, I'm gonna build it out of trash, because it's gotta decay and create the heat, right? It's got to be able to heat it up in order to help the eggs develop, and it controls whether they have male or female offspring.
If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to learn more about Florida's tourism history.
Tom.
Stingray Tom's Florida, traveling through time around the Sunshine State.
I did. I enjoyed your video, Tom. Good video. I'm going to give you a thumbs up. And yeah, I'm going to subscribe, because that's how the Hive do when I like somebody's content. Sewer gators. Yeah, what do you guys think? I think I had a couple of just quick news reports here. Let's do it.
Buildings is the Secaucus duck pond, where something appears to be lurking deep in the water.
I noticed at the water's edge was about a 2.5 to 3 foot alligator. And at first I thought it was like a rubber thing, but he was sitting with his mouth open in the open position.
Well, apparently it wasn't rubbery, but scaly, much like this one pictured here. Department of Public Works Supervisor Gary Scambati says he spotted the creature 2 weeks ago, just a few days before the town's popular fishing derby.
But by the time I could get my phone to snap the picture, he just darted underwater on me.
So there's no doubt that it was an alligator?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
That 2-second glimpse led to a
How did you know it wasn't a crocodile? Are you trained to tell the difference?
2-day boat search by wildlife crews. But Mayor Michael Ganelli says nothing was found or caught.
With this kind of alligator, they say it could go underwater for quite some time. So if it goes underwater, they're never going to find it.
Now the question, how did it even get here?
I think somebody had a pet that got a little bit too big, and they looked for a place to dispose of them, and this is where they found.
We called the Department of Environmental Protection, which says that's likely the case. The agency gets a few reports like this across the state each year. But no matter the backstory, people are diving into the mystery.
Are you looking for the gator?
Yes.
Aside from all the fun of gator chasing, the mayor's office is taking extra precaution. As you can see, officials have posted this sign here warning the community, and they put it up just days before the popular fishing derby on May 6th and tell us they plan on keeping it out here throughout the summer.
When I did come out this morning and saw that sign over the alligator, I said, you gotta be kidding me.
For now, people want to gawk, but eventually town leaders hope to say later to the gator that's slinking through Secaucus. Rena
I
Roy,
wanna see
CBS
it.
2 News.
And the DPW worker who's
All right. So that was a gator in the sewers. I think this one's too long. Here we go.
Surprising, but not the most shocking thing ever.
On
This
Sunday
is
morning,
Jersey.
a 4-foot reptile was pulled from Prospect Park Lake in Brooklyn, far from the warm
Brooklyn,
climate where
sorry.
these creatures usually thrive.
It didn't just, migrate here from New Orleans.
That's kind of scary to think that an alligator could just come up and snap someone or grab someone or.
Oh,
even a
sweetie,
little
I
small
love your
dog.
frames. Ooh, you think I look good with glittery frames like this? What do you guys think? I could pull these off, right? Maybe like a darker, like a purple, maybe?
A little taken aback and scared, especially with my 30-pound snack of a dog.
Unfortunately, the alligator was also in really bad shape, so was not really in a position to be hurting anybody. Someone had obviously gotten the alligator as a small animal, as a baby, and it doesn't take a genius to realize that someday these animals are going to grow up.
Katie Hansen is with Animal Care Centers of NYC,
Now,
where the reptile was.
Look how skinny this guy is. See? This is not a healthy reptile. Especially the tail. This narrow of a tail on an alligator is almost unheard of. That's where all their fat storage is. This guy is starving. I think they flushed his stomach and found a boot. It's been a while since this story leaked out or
First taken
released.
for evaluation before being transferred to the Bronx Zoo for medical treatment and rehabilitation.
It's really crazy, but we have been seeing a lot of animals like guinea pigs and rabbits being dumped in New York City parks. We've always had a lot of turtles. Thousands across the past 3 years.
I know there's been some animal dumps here when people can't handle their pets, and this is like a nice body of water, and they kind of just say, like, be free.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I can drop that. I can give you a wrench. Sorry, Purple, I didn't even realize you didn't have one.
Abandon an animal.
These are sentient beings. They can't just be dumped on the street. They can't be abandoned. It's illegal as well as inhumane. And I would suggest that people contact ACC or call 311 and get some help.
Police are
I'll watch
investigating
your
the
Sesame
situation.
Street one.
Meanwhile, the Bronx Zoo told Fox 5 Monday evening the animal is currently still under evaluation. In Prospect Park, Brooklyn, Jennifer Williams, Fox 5 News.
Do you put guinea pigs are so sweet? Do you cook them in honey barbecue sauce or I always, because they're a traditional South American dish, so I figured that they serve them up spicy. But if they're good in with a sweet tang to them, yeah. Here we go. Let's let me see what. All right, it's only 24 seconds. Hopefully this doesn't get my channel yoinked. Purple. Sesame Street. So we'll see.
Oh, sorry. This is the capital letter A. Next to it is the small letter A. Many words begin with this letter. Alligator, for instance. An alligator is an American reptile, similar to the crocodile, but having a shorter and flatter head. They have also been known to be extremely dangerous.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Thank you for that. All right, so what do you all think? Cryptic Corner today. Sewer gators. Are they... Obviously, they're real. They've been a thing. But are they actually something that can breed in there in those New York City sewers? We have some mixed feelings about it, I guess. I see some people who think that maybe they could. I'm not of the mind that they could survive more than a few years. I don't think that they could thrive enough to reach adulthood, as we saw that one that was pulled out of the water there was in poor condition, and I think most of them would probably end up in that condition sooner than later. All right, thank you so much for joining us for Cryptic Corner tonight. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.
So the last thing I ever ordered from a comic book was something called Monkey in a Teacup. You know what that is?
Never heard of that one.
No. Well, in the back of the ad, they show this little monkey in a teacup doing this, you know, just sitting there. It was like $4.95, which was a lot of money when you're like 12. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I ordered this monkey in a teacup, you know, and I'm waiting. You know, it's like 6 weeks. When you're a kid, it might as well be a year. So this thing comes in the mail, and it's like this package like this, you know. So I come home one day, and my mother says, "There's a package for you on the dining room table, and it smells terrible." I said, "Oh, it's my monkey teacup. I can go into the packages doing this." Like this. I said, "Oh." So I it smells awful. It's got holes in it, you know. And I open the box, and this thing goes, this thing, it was completely pink. It was a little naked man. It wasn't monkey at all. Just some kind of thing goes, like this. And my mother goes, "Ah!" And it goes, it just takes off through the house, right? It just starts running through the house, so my mother starts chasing it, and she's hitting it with the broom, and I'm going, "Stop, you're going to kill my monkey in a teacup." And it runs up, and it's just throwing things, and then it would go to the middle of the room, stop, and it had like males, it was like a little naked man. And it looks like this, and then, boom, it takes off again, and my mother is just screaming, chasing this thing. So finally she opens the front door, and the monkey, boom, runs out into the field. Now, the dog is now chasing the monkey in the teacup, ran outside, we never saw it again. I don't know what it was.